Hi everyone, I'm here with Greg Martin, CDT from Renfert. Greg, thanks for joining us. You have been one with Renfert for a while now, but first and foremost, a technician for the better part of your career and life. Can you give us a little bit of an overview of, you know, what that was like and your process of becoming a CDT and where you are now?
Yeah. So, I mean, I started out, gosh, now I've been in the industry over 25 years now, which I think it's showing a little bit in my beard here today. But yeah, I started out, but my brother and actually sister-in-law are dentists, and that's kind of how it led me down that path. Um, and ended up going to lab school, and then working for a production lab, and then own my own laboratory for almost 6 years before actually going into the sales side. And I've been in the sales side since back to 2007 with different companies, GC America, one of them, and now I've been with Renfert for the past 11 years. So doing a little bit of everything. I'm a business development manager, but it you know I get to meet and work and interact with so many different people, technicians, which is great. I mean, I am a CDT and have been for several years, and that's always a nice entry point when you're talking to technicians, because you can start you talk on that, on that same level, and so that's always been a nice thing to go into and have that there.
Well, you say you're on the sales side, but you're a CDT, you're a technician, so you can understand and relate to dental labs and technicians more so than a lot of other companies and maybe sales people. So you don't undersell or uh, short sight yourself in your technical background.
Well, yeah, and I appreciate that, and I think that's the main thing too. Is like coming from that side. I see, when we, especially when we launch new products, um, where where I see that the benefit immediately coming as a technician. It's really always it's great, and that's a great thing about Renford is the products that we come up with are, we have technicians who are making these new products for technicians. So you have technicians making it for technicians. So they have people that are actually doing it and have done it for years. They see the pain points that are out there. They see things that are going on in the industry, and they're like, okay, how can we make this process easier? How can we make this task simpler? Because when it comes down to it, I mean, that is our motto as a company, is making work easy. But honestly, it's not just about making a task simpler. It really is about looking at the overall health of the technician, the workflow, but just making their everyday lives better. If we can do that, I think we as a company succeed. And we've done that, I think, with several of our products. Whether it's a MT3 trimmer that trims, because the strength and the features of it, that it trims faster, and that's saving you time. But it's not just that. You look at something like our silent excess suction units. I mean, dust extraction is a huge thing in the industry. So when we're making dust, you want to make sure that it gets extracted. You're not breathing that in. So they tried to make one of the best dust extractors on the market, and we've done that for.
Well, you mentioned kind of like for technicians by technicians, and
Yeah.
Renford has been in the game for what just over 100 years.
We just turned 100. Sprightly 100 years old. So,
So, you
that,
don't stick around in this industry for over 100 years by not making work easy, not making dependable products. From when I knew Renford, when I first started here, it was mostly small equipment type products, and then more so consumables and other types as I got more familiar with the product line. But more recently, Renford has introduced a different kind of product, I think, for Renford, which is a light, and kind of interesting for you and the team back in Germany coming out with a light. But to your point, making work easy. Can you give an overview of why Renfert made the decision to invest the time and effort to bring a light to market, and how it makes a difference to a dental technician.
Absolutely. And so again, going back to what I mentioned about when we said making work easy and improving the quality of the technician's experience, everyday work environment. Um, we saw with lights that there were a lot of things that were missing out there, and we said, okay, how can we make this better? What can we do to really develop a product that's going to change the game when it comes to light for a dental technician? So we looked at some of the pain points there, but we also had to go back to school ourselves to say, okay, well, what is good light? What does it mean to have good light? Because if you actually look in just a little about the science of light, objects don't actually have color themselves. It's kind of how we perceive that color. It's the wavelengths that are reflected off of that comes through our brain, and then we process that, and then we see what we think is a certain color. And so, when we have natural light, when you go out and look at in natural daylight, that's how light really should be. And when we see it, and that the light source, then is going to be the most important factor in determining color for us. Okay, so we think about that in a dental laboratory. That's one of the pain points. What's one of the biggest pain points we talk about is doctors say about is shade matching, right? So we have to look at shades, and so that's a really important thing. And
Right, technician, we're now talking like ceramists, people that are matching shades, and your pain point that you covered or highlighted is remakes, right? When a shade or
right,
when a restoration isn't matching. So, how
right.
does the light help a technician, which with the natural shade versus maybe what they're seeing from above lighting? Like, talk us through how a technician will see the difference, or a ceramist might see the difference.
Well, one of the things with what we did, if you looked at really all the other lights on the market that exist, there's something called CRI, it's color rendering index, and based on that, they have usually use uh, a standard CRI. Well, that CRI basically is going to give a simulation of color. Okay, but that unfortunately it's just a simulation, and so a technician thinks he's getting the right color, but what he's not actually seeing is actually what true natural color is. So Renfert looked at that and they said, okay, let's look at the medical industry where it's really important to look at light, like in surgery, for example, when you really need to see what healthy tissue looks like. There's certain you want to be able to see red. That's not seen in a lot of other and in lights out on the dental market before. They were never seen. So we said, let's look at that. Let's get these specific medical LEDs that will show actual true color in those reds. And now we have that full extended range. We have that simulated the standard range plus an extended range. So we actually have two different LEDs in our light that do give you the actual true experience of natural daylight. And so that's what is going to make that difference for in terms of shades. They're going to see that true shade and true color in the laboratory anytime that they, when they sit down and look at it, and they'll notice difference immediately. You can literally, I think you saw maybe the experiment when we were in Chicago about holding something red outside of the light and then bringing it underneath our light one, and it's just immediately you see that pop of color. And you'll see that with shading, and that's going to be the first thing that the technician's going to notice is they're going to be able to more easily recognize shades more quickly and more accurately. That's a huge thing. Absolutely.
What about the doctor that's not using the same? How do they see the shade? Like, if they're prescribing something and the lab sees it as a different one because they're using the better lighting, does it somehow like match itself up? Like, I'm just curious.
Well, the good thing is, a lot of doctors, they do have sometimes they're going to have more, especially if they're using operatory lights. Those lights typically are medical grade quality, so those are going to tend to be have some more accurate lighting there. But as long as they're giving a shade, then it comes to the laboratory, they're going to be able to see those nuances of the shade. Obviously, you're matching up shade tabs, right? So the idea is that you hopefully can have an A3 match an A3 or whatever. So that's the key thing. And then two, most doctors now hopefully they're taking good photos, especially anterior. So when they do spend the time to do those smile design cases and they do take really good high resolution photographs and they send those in, now you're trying to match that. And so being able to match that shade, I think a D600 is sort of that standard. You can look at the light of that natural light versus what our light can give you, that eastern sky, noontime view. Lots of times too, you'll see that doctors will take the patient outside to get good doctors typically, when they're doing a shade, they'll typically do that at least in a room that's getting natural light coming in. So that's the main thing too. And so when it comes to the lab, again, it's not just the color and the LEDs that we have. That's really important, but it also has to do with, the intensity of the light. And then also when it comes to seeing all the details, we have special optics on ours that allow us to see a really balanced view of diffuse and direct light, so you can see all the details that really do set it apart. And that's really important, especially now you see folks, taking green state zirconia. You're looking at an all white background. Okay. Now you're dealing in the absence of color, but in that you still need to see really fine detail. Sure. Because, that, and again, doing that all day long, you don't want your light to be flickering in your eyes. You don't want that direct glare coming in where you're actually having to try to stare, but at the same time squint because you're getting this light coming into your eyes. Our light doesn't do that. It focuses it directly down in a rectangular pattern onto your work surface. So you get really nice intensity of light on your work surface. And you're getting the ability to see all the details that you'd ever want to see without getting fatigue on your eyes. So that's the other thing I think a technician's going to notice right away, is that I can work all day long under this light and my eyes don't feel tired anymore. That's a huge thing.
So going from no Renfert Light to Renfert Light, what do you think is the most noticeable difference that a technician that's at the bench will be able to notice?
I think immediately they'll see color, like pops of like color, like it's almost like seeing something. It's like watching a 720 pixel, television, and all of a sudden it's like, okay, 4K. It literally is that much of a difference. It's kind of like, oh my gosh, now I'm seeing something in 4K. And if you're like me with my glasses,
I saw when you signed on. Yeah, put those glasses on.
As we're getting older, and technicians are good. A lot of technicians are aging. The population is aging, and so we're not able to see the details that we could when we were 25 or 30, right? So we need more light. We need better light in the laboratories, and just getting that from the lights, that even if you put in nice overhead lighting, that's not gonna cut it. You really need something especially directed on your work surface that you're working under all day long. And I think that's one of the things. I think you'll just feel like, again, we say making work easy, but you literally feel at ease when you're working under that. It's like a breath of fresh air, and it's that for your eyes, really.
Yeah. Let's say you're in a production lab, with X amount of workbenches and stations. You're the owner or manager. Where are you putting your first light? At which bench or which stage of the workflow?
Well, I think for them, anywhere where you're where shade's important. Obviously, if you got your standing glaze where they're doing that, but I think at least there, and then finally at where you are where color is concerned, and that final QC is coming through, where you want to see all that fine detail, making sure things are seated properly. That's really important. So anywhere in that final stage of standing glazing, and then over into that that final QC area, that's where I would say at least for that they're going to notice a huge difference and be able to see those the details.
So you
Absolutely.
see you see the benefit of the light in more than just one spot in a dental laboratory. There,
Oh, 100%. And again, going back to what I mentioned too now, it's really is about the details. Everybody can do, so much of the work now is transitioned to digital, right? So it's all everything's being milled. But in order to set yourself apart, I think a lot of that is it's in the details, right? It's in the detail. How do you put your signature on a crown, right? If you're a technician. And for them, it is taking that green state and then working in that. And there's another area you could have that where someone's doing green state zirconia when they're finishing that to be able to see all those nuances. That's the thing. If you have something where light's too diffuse, then it's just it kind of gets washed out and you get this blurry sort of image. And it's too much shadow. It sort of the same on the opposite side, too much. You want a nice blend of that. So if you can see all those contours and just those fine details, and you can put those in by hand, which most people are doing that are taking and making a signature restoration. That's what sets it apart. And so there's multiple applications for this light for sure.
I love it. I love when we go kind of back to the artistry behind it, and that there's just so many different business models and ways that a technician can kind of pump out crowns or bridges, restorations, but then
Right.
the ones that maybe a little bit smaller, a little bit more boutiquey, and of course the larger ones can do it too, but really make it an art form and put in that time and energy, and makes perfect sense that the light is a huge opportunity there.
Yeah, I'll add one more thing too. You're talking about areas. The really unique feature of ours. I won't get into this too much, but I think it's really important. You're seeing a lot of dentures now being made, 3D printed dentures, but everybody doesn't want to just send out what the run of the mill, the standard. So they want to add some characterization. So they're using composite material. Well, the issue with composite material is if you got an intense light, it will prematurely cure that composite, right? So then you have to work too fast. You can't spend the time. And even if you try to put a filter on it, it makes it really, really orange. And then you can't really see the nuances of color. So ours is really unique. We have a special button on the unit, and you tap that, and what it does, it removes blue light. It still gives you a really nice focused working light, but it gives you extended working time with composite, so you can still see nice the nuances of color without blue light. That's actually going to be prematurely curing your composite. So that's a really, really cool feature on the Line One.
It almost sounds like the light is setting up the perfect environment for a technician to do a variety of restorations.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Anything else that we should know about the light, or features or benefits that you want to touch on?
Well, again, with that, the nice thing too, it's we give you full customization of that. So, a couple things. So there's a button to do perfect shade matching that's set up automatically for you that you can tap that, and that's your perfect shade situation if you're matching shades. But you can also customize it. So you can say, okay, I want to customize it to the lighting in my laboratory. All that can be customized, and then there's a home button that saves all that. So you can set it up exactly how you want it, save that light setting for your home laboratory, your bench. That's a great feature. And then will say about how we do sell it. It does come in. It's made to be obviously. It's a nice light, so it's made to be hard mounted either to your bench top or tabletop unit, or we do have a wall mount unit. And then the other option, if they wanted to do that, they wanted something where it's a little more mobile, where they could move it, say from one area to another. If they were having, say, clinical show or study club, and they wanted to move it into another room, we do also sell an additional base plate as an option that they can add on, and then they can attach the light to that, and then move it wherever they want on their bench top, wherever. So that's a really nice feature.
Got it. So a lot of versatile options for mounting or setting it up. Very cool feature of being able to save the setting, kind of like a furnace or some kind of, so it could be technician Greg is on setting one and technician Andrew is on setting two. And hey, Greg, stay off my setting for your preferences, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, again, but again, be able to customize it's really it's just that now it does individualize it, and that's how we know technicians are very individual about what they like, whether it's their brushes or whatever. And it comes to the light, they can do the same thing now with the light one.
Cool. Well, Greg, I appreciate your time and thanks for the overview on the light.
Thank you so much, Andrew. It was great. It's a pleasure.